So a big topic is emotional intelligence right now. And I believe that emotional intelligence ties into like emotional maturity in love and in marriage, because you can be immature in love and in marriage. Let me give you an example. So we were just on a 2-week road trip with our family. We have 2 boys that are 6 and 9. And to pass some of the time, we were going around and I wanted to speak life into my children. And so I went through each one of them and we talked about, me and their brother, talked about the things we love about them. So we did Brendan, who's 9 first, and we said all the things that we love about Brendan, how he is as a brother, just all the things we love about him. And then we did Jeremiah and we did him. And then I said, okay, guys, like, what do you love about mommy? And my 9-year-old says, Mom, I love that you take care of me. I was like, okay, well, thank you for that, dude. And that's what you get out of our relationship. That's not something that you love about me. It's what you love about what I do for you. So is there something that you love about me, right? So a specific thing about mommy that you love, who she is. And he thought about it. He's like, okay. He's like, well, I love that you feed me. And I was like, oh, I love you so much, babe. But again, that's what you get out of the relationship with me. And it reminded me of so many of the couples that Skylar and I work with at Rise Up Kings and Rise Up Queens. Sometimes I would call that an immature love, right? So immaturely as children, we love our parents for what we get out of the relationship. But sometimes adults don't ever grow out of that immature love. Some of you are in your relationship with your spouse and you love them for what you get out of the relationship. And so you know that this is present if you're withholding in your relationship, if you're not going all out, if you're not showing up because they're not doing what you think they should, right? So maybe you brought flowers to them and you expected them to say thank you and be grateful and love you and show you some physical attention, but they didn't do that. So you've decided that you're not going to show up in that way anymore until they do what you think they should do, right? So your relationship has not turned into like serving one another and going 100% all the way. It's turned into self-preservation because you're bringing this immature love, not this love where I'm going to go serve my partner and I'm going to show up for them like no one else has showed up for them. Instead, and no bad, right? I've been in this place. Instead, you're showing up from a way of how can I get the most out of this relationship and how can I get my needs met? And you can't even see the needs. When you're in that place, I remember I used to always ask Skylar, babe, how do I look? Do I look pretty? How do I look? Like every day. It was like, come on, feed me, feed me, feed me. Like I wanted all this approval from Skylar. And one day he was like, babe, it'd be really nice if every once in a while you told me that I look nice also. Just like that, it almost took my breath away. Like, oh my goodness, like there's this man that has this need. And I was so blinded to his needs because I was so focused on my own needs. Like I had an immature love. I was emotionally immature when it came to loving and showing up for my partner. Also with immature love comes this like immature trust. And immature trust is the trust that says this person is perfect and they're not going to hurt me. And if you've been married long enough, you're probably not in this category because your spouse or your husband or your wife has probably let you down in some way, right? But how have you recovered from that immature trust? So in the beginning, I've had a very immature trust. Skylar was like, I've never cheated on anyone, right? And so I took that as he will never cheat on me. I took him at his word. And he happened to cheat on me when we were still dating. We weren't yet married yet, but it came out 2 weeks before our wedding. And it crushed my world. I had put him on this pedestal that was something he had never done, so he would never do before. And what I realized was that was partially my mistake because I'm married to an imperfect person. But my expectation of him was that he was perfect. And when he didn't meet this standard of perfection, then he lost points in my book, right? And immaturely, I also at that stage in our marriage, thought that he was supposed to be like me, right? So an immature love, emotionally unhealthy or emotionally immature me thought that he was supposed to do everything like me. Even though I'm a woman and he's a man, I'm against God's design. God made men one way, right? And lots of different variations, but he made men one way and he made women very, very different another way, right? And I wanted him to be like me and I resisted it. It's funny, Skylar's at a Rise Up Kings event and one of the guys came in and he was talking to me and he's like, hey, I have this, big personality and have a lot of energy. He's like, how do I deal with my wife? And I was like, wait a minute. The first thing that you need to get with is that you think you need to deal with your wife. So what I heard in that was what you're asking me is, how do you change her? Right? But the question was like centered around him. Like it's just very interesting how when we're immature in love, we think that we're responsible for changing the other person, that we need to show them their faults, that we need to guide them through the path of them becoming their best version. I believe now that that's the work of the Lord. So if Skylar's going to change, I can share my experience, but that's between him and the Lord. Like he's his own man. I don't need to control changing him, having him do things my way. Like there's so many times, like I have a driver person. If you know me, I'm a strong personality. And there's just so many times where I just have to let go and be like, okay, if I'm not going to physically go do this myself and physically go change this, and that's his job, then I'm going to let it go. Like he can do it how he's going to do it. Like that's his lane. Right? Because I believe there's three different lanes: my lane, his lane, and God's lane. And so often I have the most stress and most turmoil in my life when I'm in his lane and when I'm in God's lane. But sometimes it's so easy because it's from the intention of caring and loving this person, wanting the best for our family. But at the end of the day, it's detrimental to us as a couple and our connection and our intimacy, because what man or even what woman or what man wants to be changed by their spouse, right? Or for them to always be pointing out their flaws or the ways that they messed up. Like I thrive best, not when Skylar tells me where I am or who I am. Oh, you're sensitive, right? Or, oh, you're emotional sometimes. Or, oh, you're hard to deal with sometimes. Or, oh, you're stubborn sometimes. But if he speaks life into me and tells me the person that I'm becoming, right? Wow, you're doing great at that. And he's encouraging versus like we can speak life and speak the future of someone into someone. Like I often say, babe, you've got this. Like, I know you'll make the best decision. I don't want to second guess his stuff, because when I'm not his biggest cheerleader, it's detrimental to both of us, right? I can choose to be right, or I can choose to be happy about things. And so as you're going through, that's just a couple points to check in on. Like, are you operating from an immature love, just emotionally, just unaware, or are you moving towards a mature love where you serve the other person in the relationship, where you're not trying to change them and you allow them to be their own unique person and you show up for them in ways that maybe no one's ever shown up for them? If you like this video or got any value, make sure you like, subscribe, and check out some of the other ones. Skylar and I do some fun videos together on marriage, have some on addiction, have some on porn. So good stuff. I can't wait to see you back soon.